Okay, we're going to start our Crook County Board of County Commissioners work session for Wednesday, April 8th. And our first part of business is public comment. Does the public like to comment? Seth is at Skamania Lodge at an AFRC conference.
What is AFRC?
American Forestry, what's the R stand for?
It's probably resources.
Yeah, resources, something, yes. So he is up there. He left yesterday afternoon. So I'm gonna be the chair today. Okay, so would you like to comment publicly? That was the question.
I'll refrain this time.
Okay, the public has been very quiet. All right. The first thing under discussion is Republic Services rate increase request, and we have our requester is Erica. And I think you must be Dan
Yes.
presenting with it. Okay,
Where would you like us to sit?
well, wherever you want to.
Yeah, you can.
Head of the table.
Yeah.
Head of
Or
the table.
one, or pull a chair. I didn't expect so many people.
It's a full room.
No,
Is this okay?
this is good for you. Yes, perfect.
All right. Well, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for having us today. For the record, again, my name is Erica Heisma. I'm the general manager for Republic Services of Central Oregon, which includes our Prineville Hauling Division. And I'm with Dan Strandy, who is our finance manager for our Central Oregon market, again, including the Prineville Hauling Division. So today we're going to discuss our 2025 financial results, and then we'll discuss our 2026 projections. And then we'll discuss what our overall rate increase ask will be. So to start us off, I'll go through our 2025 actual financial results. So looking at the top line,
Sort any of that up. I just want to see if she can post it up here on the
Oh,
screen,
sure.
any of it, and then you can, everybody can see. Because I'm assuming it's your second page of your presentation. That you're on.
correct, yes, it's our
Yeah, perfect.
financial statement, which looks something like
Yeah,
this.
exactly. That's why I thought if she could do it, it would be
Sorry, I
better.
didn't even think about bringing it up.
That's because you have a demanding chairperson this morning.
That's it.
Am I cooking on yours?
Mhm.
I'll probably have to turn it.
You need, but Brianna knows how to fix those things. That's why. It's good.
I haven't figured out how to fix it on my laptop.
Well, that's why you just turn your laptop over.
Set it up on its side.
That's my remedy, but that's kind of a ranch
It's a lot
remedy.
easier in my neck. I
Yeah,
turn
we're-
my neck.
Do a little sideways action.
Bifocal work.
Okay, now we've got to see if you are perfect here and you can turn it for us.
Yeah,
There we go. And maybe,
Might need to increase. the
yeah, I was
size.
gonna say, maybe enlarge it for us who are a little impaired. Okay,
Okay,
Oh, I found
is
that.
that better?
this is much better.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through the column that reads 2025, go through the numbers and then provide an explanation, especially associated with the operating costs. And then again, once we're done with that, then I'm gonna turn it over to Dan, who's gonna talk about our 2026 projections. Okay, so to start at the very top, looking at our revenue for 2025 was $2,970,000. This represents a year-over-year increase of 12.75%. Revenue growth was a result of our price increase carryover from 2024 and our rate increase, in 2025, along with a volume growth of 2.4% in our industrial, commercial and residential waste streams. Our total operating cost for 2025 was $2,674,000. This represents a year-over-year increase of 8.67%. Looking at the specific categories within our operating costs. The first is our disposal fees. Disposal costs were at a total of $581,000. This is a year-over-year increase of 20.53%. Disposal costs were driven by a gate rate increase at the Crook County landfill and a tonnage growth increase of 103 tons. Our direct labor was $692,000. This is a year-over-year change of 2.21%. Direct labor increase, or costs are associated with wages, benefits, and payroll tax. Equipment operating costs were $155,000. This represents a year-over-year increase of 13.35%. This cost category is driven by our fuel expense. Our truck maintenance costs were $255,000. This represents a reduction in year-over-year costs by 2.5%. The reduction in costs were associated with our parts and supply expense reducing year-over-year. Our insurance costs were $120,000. We experienced a $25,000 reduction year-over-year. The reduction in our insurance spend was driven by improved safety and overall claims. Our operating expense was at $27,000 with a $13,000 year-over-year increase. The increase was related to our lease expense. Depreciation costs, this is associated with our trucks and equipment. This was at $175,000, which represented a 19.7% year-over-year change. And this was primarily driven by 3 new collection vehicles that we received in 2025. Our call center costs were $132,000. This represented a 10% year-over-year change. Calls for our Prineville overall division, which services our Crook County customer base, increased by 2.2 thousand year-over-year. This cost category includes fixed and variable costs. Variable costs are associated with our call volume, and fixed costs are associated with technology infrastructure, IT support, and supervision. Our area and corporate allocation costs were $244,000. This represented a 1.23% increase year-over-year. These costs represent our corporate and area level overhead costs that directly support our Central Oregon market. These services include legal services, tax services, information technology, procurement, accounts payable and receivable, billing and collection costs, marketing and customer communication, and accounting and financial reporting. Management and administrative costs were $34,000, and this includes costs for our Central Oregon management team. And then lastly, our franchise fees were at $89,000, which represents a 12.7% year-over-year change. Any questions before I turn it over to Dan to discuss our 2026 financial projections?
I don't know that.
So Erica gets communicate the real numbers. I have the projected numbers, which is a little bit more fluid. It's a projection. The columns that you're seeing right next to the white, you see a 2025 actual, I've got a 2026 actual, but we really want to focus on the columns that say fiscal year end June 30, 26 and fiscal year end June 30, 27. That represents the first represents the 12 months that are preceding the 12 months in which the price increase request will be implemented. So in preparing this projection, I largely use data supplied by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, whether that's general CPI or fuel. I use the best data I can find that is closely representing the cost inflation that we're experiencing here in Oregon. There isn't really anything in Central Oregon, but I do believe what is happening in Central Oregon is probably similar to what's going on for most of the state. So when we look at the projection, a couple of the key components that are driving the request for a 6.5% increase. Number one would be disposal. That is the increase on rates at the landfill. That is projected to go from 69 to 73. That increase represents 1% of the 6.5% ask. I'll try and translate what makes up this 6.5 as we go through, but the disposal pass-through represents 1 of that percent. Now the remaining 5.5% is cost inflation that has been experienced over the last 2 years. If you recall last year, the price adjustment that we got was just for disposal. There was nothing for CPI, so we're looking at really 2 years worth of price inflation in this ask. And that is roughly 3.3% for this year and 2.2% for last year. Now, before I go further, I will also say that this projection was put together in the end of February. Normally that shouldn't matter much 5 weeks into the future, but the world has kind of went through a little shift. And so I just want everybody to understand that in this projection, there is nothing is been incorporated for what is going on in the Middle East and in Iran. The good news is with the ceasefire, we're seeing the barrel oil fall, but we've got, by way of example, a decline projected in fuel year over year of about 2%. And obviously that is not what is going on today. So this ask is not about the spike that we've seen in inflation and fuel over the last month. This projection assumes all that's going to run its course, and hopefully it will, and everything will be back to normal, hopefully within a few months, or at least by the end of the year. Just wanted to clarify that kind of unusual situation we're in right now. So labor is, which is our, the inflation on labor is just our cost of living adjustment that we give to our employees. That is 3% for each year. Also within labor is benefits. Benefits are going up 7%. That is a projection for 2027. It's an actual current for 2026. It's a difficult number, but typically I think everybody is aware that medical insurance typically goes up a lot faster. So that 7% creates an overall inflation on labor of, that 3-point-something%. So labor, and when we look at the ask, the labor adjustment that we're giving our employees represents 0.8%, 0.81 actually of that 6.5. So disposal and labor is 1.8% of it. Those are the two largest components. The rest is just general CPI on parts for maintenance. For all the other expenses are just being inflated by roughly what general CPI is been reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And then what we're projecting in here is a 2.2 for 2026, and I'm sorry, 2025, 2026, 3.3. The 2.2 is not really a projection. That's kind of our actual inflation that we incurred was a little bit better than general CPI. I think it was reported at 2.8 last year, if I recall correctly. So we did a little better in managing that cost, but the 3.3 for this year is based on our projection for how this year's inflation is going to finish. As a data point, as of March, it was 3.6%. So we're a little bit conservative in that. And that's, of course, fuel. I mentioned fuel. We do not have any fuel increase. We actually have a 2% decline in fuel, which is actually crediting the price increase by about 0.3. Now, that is obviously assuming, and will only work if the world stabilizes and the barrel comes down and fuel at the pump returns to normal. We basically are projecting here we'll weather this temporary storm that we're in at this point. The bottom line, franchise margin, when you look at the report, don't go all the way down to the bottom. That includes after taxes. That is just really for informational. The industry in Oregon really uses the franchise or income before tax. And the state statute that affords this authority to municipality, or S459, is very ambiguous on what rates should be set at by municipalities. It just says fair and reasonable. Well, that is not that helpful. But what is helpful is over the last 30 or so years, the municipalities in Oregon generally set between 9 and 12% before tax is that acceptable margin. That translates to about 6 to 8% after tax. So in this pro forma, I've just projected right in the middle of that at 10.5, allowing basically a 1.5% error on both sides in terms of my projection. So just know that it's designed at 10.5. And so this rate ask of 6.5 is designed to yield that 10.5, leaving a 1.5% error on each side to still fall within the 9 to 12 for the fiscal year end, June 30, 2027. Threw a lot at you right there. I apologize. Certainly can answer any questions that you may have on the projection.
Ryan, do you have anything?
I don't have any questions.
Will?
I like the clarity on the fuel because I had wondered about that. So appreciate that.
Will?
I don't have any questions for the public.
No, I don't have any questions. You did throw a lot at us. I
Sorry.
do agree, though, that the fuel, that's very good you explained, because that's a big, it's a big black hole there. Okay. And obviously, we cannot put this on consent agenda. You're gonna have to come and do this again next week for a public meeting.
And it's already on the agenda for next week.
Okay, but I appreciate you coming and taking the time and going through this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Okay,
I don't have a question for
okay.
Republic, but I do have a question for the board. Are there any issues, any pieces of information that were provided that staff can dig into at all? Is there anything else we can provide to support your decision next week?
I don't have any.
I don't either. This is pretty,
They've answered the questions that I had.
this is pretty straightforward. So actually like what you did, I think, last year, the same, it's just different numbers that are higher, unfortunately. Yeah, okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so next on our agenda is update on contract negotiations with PSCS.
Looks like Angela's online.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, for the public, will you say what PSCS is, all these acronyms?
Sure. That's Pacific Source Community Solutions, which is the insurance company for our area. And Melissa Thompson wasn't able to be here today, so I'll be giving the update. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Angela Cumming, and I'm the program director for Best Care. We are the contracted community mental health program in Crook County. And we have been in contract negotiations with Pacific Source since the beginning of the year. The contract negotiations are not going well. Rick and Melissa, Rick is our CEO, for those of you who are not aware, and Melissa is our Chief Behavioral Health Officer. They both met with Dan Stevens, who is the Executive Vice President for Pacific Source, about 10 days ago or so, and they expressed significant concerns with the lack of flexibility regarding the amount of money that they want to cut from our budget, or our rates. Despite the fact that Pacific Source has been in the black for at least the last 4 months, and that the CMHPs have not caused the financial struggles that Pacific Source has been having. It was shared with Dan that it's been difficult for us as a provider to get paid for Pacific Source just for basic services, and that the number of errors that occur in their claims continues to be an issue. Currently, there are 4,000 claims that were denied due to errors in Pacific Source's system. This system continues to be riddled with problems and continues to be something that we have to manage. Best Care currently has 2 full-time people in our billing department, and all that they do is work Pacific Source denials. Most recently, Pacific Source did not pay claims for 10 weeks. No claims were paid for 10 weeks from Pacific Source. And they put our claims on hold without any communication to us, and due to them, and this is in quotes, reconfiguring the new outpatient contract, something that should only take about 48 hours to complete. It wasn't until Rick and Melissa notified Dan about the situation that the hold got removed, but then that triggered the 4,000 denials, which were all errors in their system, not our billing. The final negotiation that they're planning to send will be in about a week or so. They're timing it to ensure that they can communicate with Deschutes County and be in sync with them. Deschutes is actually going to mediation with Pacific Source and OHA over their contract. We are going to be asking that we only sign a 6-month contract to see if things improve, and allow time to speak with OHA about either holding Pacific Source accountable for looking for another CCO. Well, no, sorry. I'm kind of reading this from, and it looks like there's an error in here. So we're asking that we only sign a 6-month contract. We want to see if things will improve. And then that will allow us time to speak with OHA about either holding them accountable or looking for a different CCO. We're also asking that something be put in the contract about either a surcharge for the amount of work that we have to do to get paid for their errors, or language about them paying us interest on those claim denial errors. We also want to ask that something be put in the contract that does not allow them to put claims on hold. We are asking support from the commissioners. If there is any pressure that can be put on Pacific Source on your end, that would be appreciated. And also any support that you might be able to provide around the idea of putting pressure on OHA to either hold Pacific Source accountable or entertain the idea of another CCO would be appreciated. And that's our update.
And Angela, this has definitely been discussed at Central Oregon Health Council. And on the last, I'm just gonna go back to the last time when Melissa was here. It was gonna be 17% for Crook County, which was going to be $500,000, which she indicated there are 11 individuals in Crook County who need constant maintenance. And therefore, there was a lot of things that were gonna fall. They were just gonna fall out of place. So, what do you suggest, Brian? You wanna, we've sent a letter to Pacific Source previously. We could go ahead and craft another letter and obviously reiterate what your position is and how vital this is, because what it's gonna do is make our jails and our emergency room here in Prineville be our mental places, and we can't afford that. We need to keep the services that we have. So we can do that. Is there anything else that you want to suggest to us, or?
I think the only, the big thing I know that she had mentioned is that at the Central Oregon Health Council, Pacific Source does have to share their financials, and that they have been consistently in the black. So one of the things that I think would be really helpful is if we do sign a contract that has a reduced fee, which I think is looking at about 15% at this point, that they'll support the idea of the 6-month contract, because then that allows, them to be able to present information that over the course of that 6 months, they're continuing to remain in the black. And then we can have contract negotiations about hopefully then either going back to the rates that we were at, or potentially even higher, because most of those contracts do end up being a year. And so if you guys can, support us in the request for a 6-month contract instead, I think that could be helpful as well.
So what Melissa did at the initiation of her first letter was she sent bullet points. And then that was what we incorporated in the letter that we brought forth and approved and sent on. Would you be willing to maybe do that for us?
I'm sure I can pass that along to her.
And that would be, again, it would be more accurate, and then I think
Yeah,
from
that's-
there, we'll craft a letter and then we'll take it next week before the public meeting, and we can approve it. So if she could do that in a timely manner, that would be great.
Okay, I will let her know today that is the request.
Okay, and I don't feel there's a motion necessary for that, because we're just asking for bullet points to craft. And then it'd be from that final product that we will pass, right, Eric?
Right, I don't think you need a commission.
Yeah, Angela, if you could do that, and I will be at COHC tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yes, it's just been constant, nonstop drama and suspense.
Exactly, you summed that up very well. So yeah, so if we could get some bullet points, it would help us to know we are definitely going to support you, because this is something very important for Crook County.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the Emergency Management Grant Agreement 25-506, which I'm assuming is going to be presented by AJ.
What's that?
Our emergency manager, whichever you want. This is work session. We don't have to be formal.
Wonderful. Morning, commissioners. So EMPG is back for signature. This is a grant that we've historically gotten in the past. It has been delayed, due to some federal language that was in the grant that I assume has been corrected. Eric has been reviewing it for us. At its core, it's designed to ensure counties like ours have the capability to prepare for those disasters. It helps fund some of our operations, specifically for salaries, time, and it is a 50-50 cost share. Christina has worked with the budget, so we weren't anticipating it for this year, but it has been approved and OEM has accepted the funds from FEMA. And so it will be backdated to July 1 of 25. Okay. So we request that, pending Eric's review, and it's signed out of court.
Okay, and for everyone, it's $67,978.
Yes.
Okay,
And I don't know if you saw, I followed up with you on the last remaining issue on the new federal warranty language.
so everything's good. Well, Eric, we need a yes or no from you. So,
I reviewed it and I believe it is legally sufficient.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can just move this to the consent agenda? Is there any timeliness at all on this?
Well, I believe so. We have a course next week to review their new grant reporting systems. So all of our reporting doesn't happen until after that. And so, assuming that at that point, we don't have any kind of hard deadline right now.
Okay, so we can,
Next Wednesday is good.
okay. Thank you very much, AJ. Is there any questions from Will at all?
No questions.
Or Brian? Okay. Thank you very much, AJ.
Thank you.
You're $67,000 richer.
And it only took 60 seconds.
Hey, there you go. We work fast. All right.
Going in 60 seconds.
And now we have John Solis, who's our Crook County Assessor, who is here for an assessor office staff promotion.
Yay, yes, thanks for the introduction, but for the record, John Solis, Crook County Assessor. I'll just go ahead and read this out pretty much verbatim, and I've already put in the information packet for you guys. Here today to get approval for promoting a staff member. In 2024, I hired an assessment technician one, within our budgeted range at that time. Since then, we've seen extraordinary ability in this person, and in the last year, she's been doing out of class work, work that's involved in the next job description that we have for this position. Currently, there's basically 3 positions here we're talking for this technician side of things. Assessment technician 1, assessment technician 2, and then they move eventually, hopefully, into assessment technician senior. For 25-26, I didn't budget directly for a promotion, just the typical annual increase. But we found out as some time went by, this employee has had much deeply rooted prior experience. She coming from Crook County, also with 12 years title company experience in our Prineville area. She soon exceeded the technician 1 job duties. Because of that prior job experience, it's enabled her to jump into those next job description duties. Thus my seeking to advance her position with a promotion. The assessment technician 1 position is basically an entry-level position. That's one of answering the phones, helping at the counter, learning to work deeds, doing ownership change type transactions, and also how to update and enter the data into our CAMA software that we have in-house. With the vast existing title company experience, understanding and knowing of the concepts, this employee has actually mastered the deeds and the data entry right away, and then some. She moved quickly into doing work that is part of the assessment technician 2 position, excuse me, which also involves handling mobile homes, senior deferrals, veterans exemptions, and more. She's highly efficient, And I see her as a long-term employee with great potential for occupational opportunities to look forward to. Her employment time already from prior reveals longevity and commitments. I have budget room for this promotion in our current fiscal year. This is mostly due to having a vacant position in my office since July of 2025. This stands as a position that will not be filled in 26-27. I have also connected with our county manager, with the HR director, our finance director, and our budget manager. And I basically have the okay to move forward, thus my being here today for the ask. Last paragraph, budget numbers involved. The current non-filled vacant position represents $88,000. So this is helping to free up some funds here. The promotion itself is $2 to $4K range, probably more toward the 4,000 range overall, give or take. My overall assessment budget that's going to be proposed for 26-27 is also within the 3% increase as directed by our county manager for this next fiscal year. And since this is a permanent employee position, lines up to be a sustainable one. And it also lines up with multiple core county core services, our goals such as goal 1, which is outstanding service. Goal 2 is finding efficiencies while still providing core services, and goal 3, cross-training opportunities, camaraderie. So I'm asking you to approve my request to promote this staff member currently at an assessment technician 1 to assessment technician 2.
Very well said. Great job, great presentation.
That's
Very
all.
good.
Bragging about this person is actually, it's a fun thing to do. These are fun, yes, they're enjoyable, good camaraderie for the entire office, I'll say that.
And you checked with Megan, our HR, and you checked with Will, and you checked with Christina. I think you've pretty
Checked all the
much.
boxes.
I do think so. So is this something that we need to move to the consent agenda or,
Yes,
okay,
I don't know if there's any additional discussion for it.
do you have anything, Brian?
No, I'm
And you
for
were,
it. I'll check my box.
and you were already checked your box and Megan, so looks to me like it's a win-win.
Okay, what are the next steps? Then I still wait for next week to occur before we do it.
HR will take care of
PA,
it.
and all that, okay, great, I'll wait for you.
Thank you very much.
All
and
right.
Thank you very much for your written statement. It was
Thanks,
very
Steve.
good.
This doesn't even have to go to, we can end this right here, correct? Doesn't have to go to another meeting.
Yeah, I don't remember if the process has changed. I'm gonna have to.
I know,
hunt that
yeah,
one
I don't
over.
believe it needs to go to the consent.
So we could just go ahead and approve right now.
Yes.
Does Brian need to make a motion? Or,
I don't believe so. Do I? Isn't this a standard hiring procedure? It doesn't involve a director or?
I think, Megan, what's the policy say about
I think
promotion?
you-
I think the board needs to approve it.
I
right?
think you both need to approve it, so you can do a
Okay.
motion, but then it does not need to go any further than this meeting.
okay,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of a tech two.
right, and I will second that motion. And is there any discussion on the motion that's on the floor?
It's not really a hiring, but to increase the.
Okay, so is that the end of the discussion? All right, John's nodding his head vigorously, so we
You got
did good. All right, all those in favor?
I,
And a Hermrick aye. So motion passes. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. All right, now we have the Oregon Department of Forestry, IGA, which is by Kelly Colfelt, our airport manager. We haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, well, good to be back. Good morning.
It's good that you're making money too.
Yes, yeah, I decided to come back with some positive things. Got some more coming here in the next month or two. So what this is I guess I'm looking for your approval signature for our typical intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Forestry, that for a number of years. This is for lease space during the summer for their single engine air tankers. This year, well, in the past number of years, they've based 2 aircraft, but they've had other aircraft coming onto the field during the year, servicing Central Oregon fires. This year, they've decided to base 4, so that's increased the footprint that they require on the airport. So this doesn't quite double the space, the lease space, but they're almost doubling the payment or the receivables for the lease. So typically, I guess the airport receives about $2,500 a month. It's roughly a 6-month contract. It is open-ended on either end, depending on fire season. Typically, last couple of years, they've gone over at least a couple weeks. They do use power and water, portable toilets, wash stations, and those are all taken care of and paid by them at the end of the year. So I'm looking for your approval and signature to go on the consent agenda for next week.
I'm glad to see they're going to double it. I think this might be a bad fire year, so it'll be nice to know we have 4 instead of 2.
I totally agree, and they're also going to be basing that they have a new, it's called a Twin Otter, which is a much more advanced aircraft that they bought this year, and they're actually going to base it for the full summer in Prineville. Typically, it's based out of Salem. And to take that a step further, I have been talking to them about leasing some space for a hangar at the airport, and they're very interested in those conversations have gone to a much higher level here lately. And that what that would do is that would base their aircraft here in Prineville permanently versus Salem. Another big thing I would like to mention with these operations, of course, the fuel that's used is huge, which is a big benefit to the airport. And for each, so let's say for each aircraft, there's probably a minimum of 4 to 6 people that come with that operate during the summer out of Crook. So.
Perfect. Do you have any questions, Brian?
Nope, I think it's good.
Okay, how about you, Will?
No. Thanks.
All right. Right,
This
thank
is
you.
wonderful, and I'll just move this to the consent agenda. Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, our next thing, oh, well, this is, I'm on the lease here. I need to move. Here's the next, this is still on here. Is position restructure OSU extension officer, or office, which is Megan, and I think we have a person here.
Hi, commissioners.
Come up here, Carmen.
Oh, yes.
Come on. Yes, you do, Carmen. We're all very friendly
I
here.
wasn't prepared.
That's okay.
I'm Megan McKee, I'm the HR director. As some people, and maybe everybody knows, we had, somebody leave the OSU office, which gave us an incredible opportunity to restructure. And because we have 2 exemplary employees that are already running the office, Carmen being one of them, Will and I met, and we really were able to restructure the job descriptions to better describe what they do, and they partner together. It's not just one person doing one thing. It helped because we now have a budget officer at the extension office, which is Tim. And that took the budget piece away from the supervisor role. We changed the supervisor role to a lead role because that gives Carmen an opportunity to continue doing 4-H, which is what she's amazing at. Will and I will be partnering to make sure that the extension office has everything they need, the employees get all the support they need. And then I will also be working directly with OSU to make sure that Crook County partners well with OSU and the office is run well. And this does not need to go to the consent agenda. We just need an approval from you both here today.
You have any questions, Brian?
Nope.
Will?
No, I would highlight that one of the reasons this is here before you is this does reflect a change kind of in how OSU extension is structured as far as their organizational chart. So just for transparency.
And I haven't been in lately, but when I was in, everyone is happy in the office. Everyone comes out and says hello, and I think that that says a lot more like what John just talked about camaraderie. I see that there, and I'm really happy for that, and I think that that reflects to our public. Because if you're happy, you can't help but reflect that, and I know you guys do a really good job, and I want to thank you. And thank you for the kids, so I definitely approve, and do we need a formal motion?
Yeah, if you're going to,
Okay,
So I make a motion to approve the position restructure with OSU extension office.
and I will second that motion, is there any discussion?
No.
No discussion, all those in favor?
Barney, aye?
Carmen, aye. Motion passes. Thank you, and thank you, Carmen.
Thank you.
And tomorrow is the benefit auction at the little arena at the fairgrounds, so I'm sure it'll be wonderful. And so come and see the kids. It's just a little plug for you, a little advertisement there.
Thanks.
Okay, and now we have Public Health Week, and we have Katie Plum, who's our Health and Human Service Director, and we have Stephanie O'Neill, who is our Public Health Modernization Manager. You are very important. I think it sounds better than you, Katie.
But it's not.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Stephanie give an introduction to what Public Health Week is, and then I'll follow up with some highlights that our staff are working on to give them some kudos for all the hard work that they do.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, commissioners. As Katie just said, we're here to share that this week is National Public Health Week. It's led by the American Public Health Association. Well, that's a hard word to say this morning. This year's theme is Ready, Set, Action, which really speaks to the proactive day-to-day work happening in public health right now. For us here locally, it's a really good opportunity to reflect on how public health shows up across our community. A lot of this work happens behind the scenes and, but it does have a really big impact, from prevention and education to supporting youth and families, strengthening mental health resources, and making sure that we're prepared to respond when something unexpected comes up. It's also a chance to recognize the people doing this work here in Crook County. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, our staff are deeply connected to the community, and they show up every day ready to respond, adapt, and support the needs that we're seeing on the ground. As part of the week, we're hosting a chamber perk Friday morning at 8 a.m. and we'd love to have y'all join us if you're available. It'll be a chance to connect, share a little bit more about what we're working on, and celebrate alongside of our partners. And with that, I'll turn it over to Katie to highlight some of our great work and our staff programs that they've been working on.
So like Stephanie said, a lot of our work happens behind the scenes. Ideally, there isn't a spotlight on public health, because if we're doing what we're needing to do, injuries don't happen, illness doesn't happen, we're ahead of issues that could be prevalent in our community. So this week is an opportunity to highlight the work that we do behind the scenes often. And I want to highlight our core services specifically and some of the successes that they have. If you're able to come on Friday, our staff will be there and you'll get to have some FaceTime with them. Our first core service that I want to highlight is our family health services, and that is we have nurses and paraprofessionals who are working with young families, both before giving birth and after. And right now we have 26 individuals who are in our Cocoon program, which is a nurse home visiting program. And it can be, that one can be really intensive. It can take a lot of staff time to coordinate needs, and really it's anything that a family needs. So a child might have extra medical needs to support, and so they might be seeing multiple providers. Our staff can kind of coordinate that care across multiple service providers, whether it's a social service or medical provider. So 26 is a lot, especially if there's a lot of need with an individual situation. we have 5 more families who are getting connected with our Babies First program, which is a little less intensive, but still, that is over 30 individuals that we're serving through those programs. And that's just right now. For WIC, we have 722 individuals on our caseload that our staff support. We're a small but mighty team. There are 2 full-time staff dedicated to those 722 individuals. We also have additional support at our front desk. We have a nutritionist who comes in. We have dental that comes in to provide supports for those families. So that's a lot of folks in our community who are receiving supports just through that one program. And then we have 1 staff person that's dedicated to really everyone who has a touch point in those family health services. That's our perinatal care coordinator. And she is all things resources. If there's anything from diapers are needed, to formula, to transportation, to a doctor's appointment, she's our go-to person for a lot of families in our community who might not necessarily be enrolled in a specific program and might not be reflected in these, the 722 or the 26. They're really anyone who's coming in need of services. She's our go-to gal. So family health services is very, very busy, and they do excellent work because that's very relational work. It takes a lot of trust to welcome someone into your home in some cases in home visiting services. It takes a lot of trust to open up about things that you're really struggling with, maybe in a pregnancy or having a new child. So those staff members work really hard and care very much about the work that they do. Our other core service that we provide is health protection and response. That's our communicable disease work, our environmental health, our restaurant inspections, our clean air, clean water work. And I wanted to highlight that in our communicable disease program, we've averaged 49 instances of disease each month that we are researching, that we're following up on exposures. So anytime that we have a reportable communicable disease come in, that can be anything from syphilis to tuberculosis, we're making sure that we're doing preventative work, that there's testing and treatment happening so that that doesn't snowball on us and we end up having more cases than we already do. So that preventative work is really key to keeping people out of our hospitals, out of our emergency rooms, and we're proactive to keep people from getting sick. And then we have clinical access. We're averaging 32 appointments per month, and that's with 1 provider and an RN. So those 32 appointments a month happen in 4 days, 6 days a month. So that's a lot coming into our doors and being managed on those days. So I want to give kudos to our providers that are doing that work. We've brought on a new doctor recently in the last 4 months. And so that availability is increasing. We're really focused on our billing. Behavioral health relies a lot on billing revenue, as do we. So that's a focus of ours. Those rates are really important to us as well. So I might talk to you about that letter to Pacific Source because we are also affected by rate changes with Pacific Source. So it's our providers, but it is also everyone from our front desk staff to our billing staff who make clinic services available for folks. That includes immunizations. So in addition to the 32 clinical appointments we see, we're averaging 20 immunization appointments a month. And then our goal is to increase that capacity over the next year. So that's really exciting. And then prevention and health promotion is our last service area that I want to highlight. We have a group of folks who are focusing on the prevention of addictions largely, so substance use and substance abuse, as well as suicide prevention and mental health promotion. And these folks are very public facing. They are deeply embedded in our community. They're attending public meetings, they're engaged in our schools. We had a report out recently that we have staff members who are running a prevention group at Pioneer High School. And it's like the highlight of the week there for those kids. And so it's prevention. It is talking about risks of substance use, and also it's life skills. So they cook with the students. They talk about mental health. And so the fact that that's a highlight for those kids is really exciting, and I think a testament to the work that our staff do to build those relationships. Again, this work is really relational. I hope that you all can come join us on Friday to have some FaceTime with our staff. And anytime, if you want to take a tour of our space, please do come over. We'd love to have you. Because I think being able to celebrate and honor our staff right now this week is important, and they do this work year round. So we want to make sure that we're honoring the dedication that they and the hard work that they do every day.
That was a very good presentation, and make sure, I don't know if you said it, but it's at 8 a.m. on Friday at the
8 morning
public health.
Friday, we'll have
Yes.
food and coffee.
I know, and last year you had really good food, so I encourage everyone to go. No, that was a very nice presentation. Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Will, do you have any comment?
No, I want to thank Katie, Stephanie for being here, and the whole team at the health department for all the hard work they do for our community. Look
Yes.
forward to the chamber for.
Very much so. We're looking forward to the coffee and the goodies too. Okay, thank you very much. All right, now we have Brad Hayes, who is our Grass Butte Cinder Crush for 2026.
I guess I do have to sit here now.
Now you do, you're getting a hot seat.
Good morning, commissioners and county staff. For the record, I'm Brad Haynes, County Road Department Superintendent. And I'm here to ask for approval to go into contract with Cinder Crush from Grass Butte. Grass Butte Pit, for the record, is the cinder pit that's co-owned with the state of Oregon up above the airport. I put a contract out for 5,000 tons of material to be crushed and delivered at the site for stockpile. And ODOT is gonna get some materials crushed too, so it's kind of a joint crush. They're not on the contract, but they are gonna buy some materials off the contract. The price points were were very good, but to start that off with, we had 12 bidders show up at a pre-bid meeting, which is very nice. It gives us 12 contractors interested in a small cinder crush like that. So these bidders were from local bidders to Diatley, which is Idaho, all over the state. And so it was a good turnout for the pre-bid. We had 3 bids come in to the office, sealed bids, and they were publicly opened by me and Wanda. The low bid was for our equipment LLC out of Deschutes Junction, Bend, Oregon, for $73,450. Price point was $9.99 per ton or per yard. The cinders, cinders is a 1-to-1 ratio pretty much. And we are, we are putting a little bit of hard rock in with our cinders too, crushing it in there just for stabilization on the roadways. The second lowest bidder was Clint Woodward Construction at $170,900, and the highest bidder was Smath Construction at $218,500. I did contact the contractor that is low bidder for the crush and make sure that they were aware of what they were getting into. They have done a lot of crushing for the county. They're a pretty well-known crushing outfit. And they crushed cinders up on Sandy M Pass for $7.99 a ton. So they feel pretty comfortable with this crush. So I'm asking for the go ahead to go into contract for our equipment LLC for $73,450. And that'll give us a few years of cinders for our stockpiles.
Any questions, Brian?
Sounds good.
Okay, and is this timely that we need to do, or we just move it to consent agenda?
I can move to consent agenda. The start of the contract will be after you guys sign off that we can go into contract, and then we'll go through legal, and Eric and Alex will get that going with the contractor.
So I might actually suggest that this go as a brief discussion item, because one of the things we like to do is to authorize signing the contract outside of the meeting. The reason why is after the Board of Commissioners says, you know, we want to award the bid to company X, then we send out the notice of intent to award, and the other bidders have 7 days to protest.
Okay,
So,
okay, alrighty, and Will, do you have any comment?
No comment. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Brad.
Okay, thank you. Sounds good. I'll see you next
We'll
week.
put this on discussion for next week. You get to come back again.
I'll be there anyway. I have some more stuff to talk about next week.
All right, and now we have Kim Bales, who is going to talk to us about the library meeting room policy update. Very volatile subject. Okay,
Well, it seems to have quieted down.
yes.
We are proposing that starting on May 1st, this is gonna be our new meeting room policy.
Mhm.
And we are going to only have our meeting rooms open during library open hours, library business hours, so that, we're not having the liability issues, we're having the, vandalism, the alcohol drinking, the staying past their time in the meeting room, staying overnight. It's all for safety reasons, so we are proposing that on May 1st, like I said, we start with this new policy.
And what was the library board's feelings on this contract?
They approved it.
Okay, so they did approve it. And I personally was contacted, the only one that I heard about was the quilters. And I contacted them, and we had a very, very nice discussion, and they ended up being very happy, and they had different resolutions that they could use. So I feel very comfortable with this. Ryan, do you have any?
No, I feel comfortable with it also. I think this is long overdue. I think when you have unsupervised activities like that, when the library's closed, the people are there,
Yeah.
it creates problems and, you know, security risks and vandalism. So I'm very much in favor of it. I'm glad the library board is also, you know,
Yeah.
approved of it, and everyone's in the loop, and
Yeah, we proactively called all of our regular groups that meet after hours and made a list of all of the alternative meeting spaces that are available in Crook County, whether they be for free or if they had charged. And everyone understood, like it was just the one group, but we solved that problem.
Yes,
So-
they were very happy. And what is sad is because I travel Meadow Lakes quite a few times a day, the neighborhood said it is about time the county did something. It is that out of control. Now, I know, Will, you want to make a
Yeah,
comment?
just a
Yes.
two quick comments. One, as noted earlier, Commissioner Crawford isn't here today. He asked that I convey on his behalf a suggestion that we conduct a joint meeting with the library board at next week's regular board meeting, to discuss this meeting room policy update. So I just wanted to present that suggestion to the board. It's ultimately the board's decision whether or not to conduct a joint meeting at next week's regular board meeting.
In my opinion, I don't feel that's necessary. I think that this has been discussed before. It's been discussed, like you talked to the providers, you talked to the library board. I've talked to the people that were discontent, that are happy. The neighborhood is actually happy. I see no reason to do that, in my opinion. What is your opinion, Brian?
no, I'm for just putting this on the consent agenda. The consent agenda always allows for the option to remove it and to have discussion. And so if the library board or others feel that there needs to be discussion, certainly it can be removed, but my position would be to put it on the consent agenda and Good. I'm totally pleased with what's taking place, aware and think all the bases have been covered.
And we might want to also bring up, we are the only library in the state of Oregon that allows anything after hours. So the biggest thing is the way it's going. We may not have a library because they'll set it on fire. So I would rather at least protect what we have. And I think it's just getting out of hand. So I fully support you guys. So I agree with Brian. We put it on the consent agenda. If someone wants to move and remove it from there, that's their prerogative.
Another thing I just wanted to know quickly, I conveyed this to Kim last week, but there was, there were some loud voices initially in terms of this proposed change. I want to commend Kim and her team for being proactive and communicating with a number of folks and groups that were initially concerned in addressing it and communicating the need for the change. So I just wanted to thank Kim and her team for their efforts.
And I totally agree with that. Yes, you guys have done a good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we get to the second thing is appointment of Kim Bales to library manager, and the requester is Will Van Bacter.
Yes, so Kim has been serving as the interim library manager since our library director left last year. We initially conducted a recruitment for a library director. We didn't find the right fit with that. Kim has continued to demonstrate strong leadership skills throughout the period of time. I believe there's a great opportunity to tap into her institutional knowledge and her desire to lead the library by promoting her to library manager. We are at a point at the library where we have a recently adopted strategic plan. We have a strong financial outlook for the library, and this library manager position creates an opportunity for us to invest in internal leadership development and allows the organization to maintain stability within the library. As I noted, Kim has stepped in and taken on that leadership role. She's demonstrated professionalism. She's effectively stabilized operations and ensured that library services have continued without disruption since taking on that leadership role. So with that in mind, my recommendation is that Kim be promoted to the library manager position. As you might recall, my job description describes a process for director level positions. It directs that I bring recommendations to the board for these appointments. While this isn't a director position in title, it is still a department head level position. So I wanted to bring this forward for the board's approval. Again, Kim has done a great job in terms of maintaining service delivery and stabilizing operations at the library. And I think there's a great opportunity to allow her to continue to grow in her role as a leader here at the county.
I concur. I welcome you to that
Thank you.
position and authorize Will to move forward with them.
And I think that the word of the day is camaraderie that was brought forth by the assessor, and I feel that in the library, that you do have a
Thank you.
very good camaraderie, and that enables you to give even better service,
Yes.
just like at the 4-H office. So,
Yeah.
yes, I definitely approve it. Do we need a formal motion, or is it just that,
I
We're-
think the intent is that you approve it, so I would recommend
okay?
I motion to appoint Kim Bales as the library manager.
And I second that motion. It has been, is there any discussion?
No,
Okay, the motion has been brought forth. All those in favor?
Barney, aye.
Hermrick, aye. You're it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, congratulations, and we're
Thank
very,
you.
You haven't been aboard for quite a while.
It's been a long road.
but we're very happy to have.
Thank you.
Okay, all righty. And now our next item on the agenda is review of draft public records policy, which is Will again.
And good morning again. So I believe we have online Laura Westmeyer from Houston Cable. She's outside counsel and has helped us put a proposed public records policy request policy together. I'm happy to kind of kick things off. But I just wanted to note that Laura's online and she can jump in or answer any questions that the board might have. So just some quick background. Earlier this year, the county or the board asked that we update the public records request policy. The current policy was adopted in 2017. In January of this year, the board adopted an interim adjustment, shifting some of the responsibility for public records requests to administration. And that interim policy has been in place and kind of supports the current policy as it exists. So at this point, we have provided a draft of the proposed updated policy. And some of the highlights in this updated policy include kind of a centralized records custodian within the administration office. The timelines are stated and are consistent with statute. There's a fee procedure regarding cost recovery for the county, spells out what the minimus time is. And then there are completion standards and communication expectations spelled out in the policy as well. The memo I provided the board includes a table kind of comparing the current policy to the proposed policy, and notes kind of the practical changes that would be implicated if the proposed policy is adopted. I think the biggest change I would say is the shift to more of a administrative model where administration is responsible. It gives the county manager the authority to appoint a public records custodian. It also kind of clarifies the scope of the policy, noting out of scope.
Audio is disabled, Brianna.
Confirms kind of service expectations, and then it also highlights a fee waiver process that would likely be a shift from our current fee waiver process. So at this point, I know Laura's online. Staff's intent this morning is not for the board to have to take any sort of formal action. I did want to kind of direct discussion and conversation towards confirming that the board still would like to proceed with the kind of the shift in responsibility to administration, and also wanted to have a conversation about the process around the evaluation of a request for a fee waiver. I think that could be one of the bigger changes in this policy. The current policy requires the board to make the decisions around a fee waiver request. You do have the option with this update of bringing that to staff to make that decision. So those are kind of the focus of what I intended to kind of focus on with today's work session, but I'm happy to discuss anything you'd like to in regards to the proposed updated public records request policy. And I know Laura.
Yeah, she's unmuted, yeah.
And then, as I know, Laura's online and she's available to answer any questions the board might have about the updated policy.
Well, I think that, the fees are just, remain with the administration also. There's no sense in splitting it up and requiring a different portion of the administration to decide whether there's a fee waiver or not. I think that the guidelines stipulate so on whatever, then the administration can do as well as anyone else not do it. Make sense? As long as policies are clear.
And one thing Laura, put together that I think will be helpful in terms of fee waiver decisions is kind of a checklist of, factors to look at when making that decision. I think that will help ensure, that when those decisions are being made, we're making them in a consistent manner, for each requester who's making a fee waiver request. I think it'll be a helpful tool, for those decision makers as they consider those requests. Laura put together a number of forms that will kind of help streamline the entirety of the process, not just the fee waiver request, but from acknowledgement all the way to conclusion of the request. So I think with this policy, we're in a good spot to ensure the continued, delivery of public records requests as required by state law and consistent with the board's goal of transparency. I think this policy will hopefully ensure efficiency and keep us in compliance with state law and hopefully exceed those expectations.
Yeah, and I could add to that, Commissioners, thanks for having me today. I'm sorry, I didn't realize we wouldn't have video opportunities, so I apologize for the booming voice from above. But just to add to what Will said in regard to the fee waiver request, yeah, I think that, there's a lot of it's pretty discretionary in statute how that is actually determined. So what Will's referring to is we have attempted to streamline this process as much as possible from an administrative perspective. Aligned with the policy that you see, we have various forms, one of which is a fee waiver evaluation form that directs essentially will be a structure so that findings are created using the same factors for every request. So there'll be a record in the county's records of why that decision was made, aligned with those factors that are used evenly on everybody. So, in the challenges that we see in case law and before district attorneys for these kind of fee waiver related to fee waivers, that's been the missing piece is no record of, why was this decision made? So, that's what we did there, and hope it will be more as objective as possible for how discretionary the factor is.
The only other question I had, but I think it kind of answered itself about the policy about redaction and who is qualified to make those redactions of pending legal consequences to the county and what we release that should be reviewed. But I think majority of that type of cases would be with the district attorneys and the sheriff's department, and they're pretty much responsible for their own. So I think that pretty much answers the question, but is there an overall?
Yeah, so you're right. So the district attorney, the sheriff's office, they have their own public records request policies. The way that the policy is intended to operate, it's totally possible that outside those departments, we may have public records that are subject to some sort of exemption from disclosure, maybe not full disclosure. So to your point, that's when the redaction would come in. The policy is intended to allow for the advice from county counsel, outside counsel as needed when it comes to those redactions. Laura, I didn't mean to jump in, but if you have anything to add to that, I'm happy to have you explain that probably better than.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. We didn't have we don't have the specific redactions listed in the policy. There's so many in both federal and state laws, so that would just be case by case basis. And certainly if something, I think with this county and with most public bodies, when you get records requests, you kind of have different classifications of oh, the routine requests where somebody's just looking for minutes for a meeting or, the Zoom for the meeting. And those are clearly nothing that would probably need to be reviewed at any higher level than the person who's receiving it, the delegate of the county manager as a records custodian. And then if something is being requested that highlights, a little bit research needed, that next step will get to this might be sensitive information, and then be funneled to legal for. So I think it will happen naturally, but it's really the records custodian who will have that first glance of should this go to legal.
Thanks, Laura. So the records custodian responsibility is not a full-time job. So, but I have put together a sort of kind of job description and some expectations around what is involved in that. It includes an expectation that the records custodian, who currently is Brianna, that they engage in some regular training, public records related training, to make sure that, whether it's Brianna, somebody else in the future, that they are staying up to speed on, not only the kind of the statutory, the clear expectations regarding timelines, all of that, but also opportunity to learn about kind of issue spotting where those redactions may be appropriate or exclusions, exemptions from disclosure may exist. But again, the policy is intended to ensure we are receiving appropriate legal advice when something is potentially sensitive in terms of the response.
That's all I wanted to hear. I know Brianna's really well, but Brianna may not be here forever and somebody else comes up and do they know what's what? So,
Well, I do have training on the 16th, so.
Yeah, she's all over it.
ensure that we're covered. Yeah.
I think that this is something we've needed for a while, so I'm very, very happy we're moving forth with this. This should go on discussion for next week, I believe, in case anyone else wants to weigh in on it in public. Okay. All righty. Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah,
And
good job. Thanks, Laura.
And thank you also, Laura. I really do like the fee waiver thing because it just, like you say, makes it more objective and makes it very easy for us, as we've been put in that position before. It just makes it a check the box thing.
So Will, there were some comments on that draft policy. Have you had a chance to review those?
I have provided them to outside counsel and we have not had a chance to discuss or incorporate. So Eric did provide some comments. There may be some, based on those comments, there may be some updates to the policy, but I have not had a chance to coordinate with Laura and discuss.
So do you think we should move this with comments, do you think we should move this to discussion next week, or should we hold off until the updates have been brought?
I think I can highlight them next week unless
Okay.
Laura, unless you don't think we'll have time to connect.
I agree. Well, yeah, I agree. Eric had provided some comments and we'll pass along some staff comments. And I think those are going to be really clarifications more than anything, that aren't really substantive, that probably would invoke discussion. So yeah, I agree with Will. I think if you want to move this forward, you absolutely can do that and just highlight what has changed since you last saw it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, let's move forward.
All righty. And guess what? It's you again, because it's manager report. You're just on the stage here.
Yeah, I don't have a report for you this morning, but thanks for asking.
Okay, well, I'm checking my list off, and now we're on commissioner update. Brian.
I don't have anything either.
So last Saturday, I went to Senator Merkley's town hall. I was the master of ceremonies, so to say. And we had a leaders meeting. Steve Uckelman was there. Greg Swalen from DEQ was there, and so was Carolyn Irvin. Some of the things that I expressed was, first of all, about health council and healthcare and the cutting of mental health and that, and he was very concerned about that. I also brought up a subject I told him I brought up in Washington, DC, but I needed to bring it up. It was about the wolves. He actually gave me a little hope in the fact that he said if I could vote on Oregon right now, I would delist, which was very nice. He's concerned about other states. My comment back to him was, let's not be concerned about the other states. Let's worry about Oregon and let's vote. So that was positive. Healthcare, that, again, a big thing about mental health and the need that we have critically for the funding and all of that, which, you know, does come down from our federal. And, I'm sure we talked for an hour. I'm sure we had other things, but obviously we talked about the water contamination, which was DEQ, more Greg Swalen, and basically it came forth that he would like to see that $1 million, even though it's basically has been tagged, or I'm gonna just say research or testing. He would like to see when the plan comes out, how they're going to use it, that there would be some remediation of it. We'd like to see that percentage adjust a little bit. So anyway, so it was very successful, and there you go. That's all I have to say. And tomorrow I have health council, and I also have transportation. So health council, we have a lot of very serious issues coming before us because of the changing health. And it'll be an executive meeting, and then I will immediately go into COAC, where I am fighting to be on the top 5 ODOT projects for 126 our roundabout. So wish me luck on that. So that's it. Okay, good luck. Yes. All righty. And I guess it doesn't say there's any public input, but we would let you if you want to.
I just have a question for Brad. We can do that offline.
Okay, all righty. Then I will look for a motion to adjourn the work session.
We have.
No,
the
we have
executive session.
executive.
So we can't, we don't, okay, then I'm wrong,
read
so
into
then I have to
executive
just start reading, okay. The Crook County Executive Session Script. Crook County Board of Commissioners will now meet in executive session under ORS 192.660, parentheses 2E, for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions, and ORS 192.6602H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. The Crook County Board of Commissioners will now leave executive session, ORS 192.6602E, for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions, and ORS 192.6602H, to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation that is likely to be filed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff were allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience were asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media were specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision was made in the executive session. We have now returned to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. Are there any applicable motions that we will need to make at this time?
Commissioners, what I think I heard from the executive session regarding the first topic, 2E, is a motion to direct staff to correspond with their counterparties as discussed in the executive session.
So moved.
I will second that motion. Is there any discussion?
No.
Seeing as the motion's been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Barney, aye.
Herrick, aye.
And regarding the topic under 2H, what I think I heard from the executive session is a motion to direct staff to correspond with counterparties as discussed in the executive session.
So moved.
Herrick seconds the motion. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
We'll go for, those who vote to approve.
Harding, aye.
Herrick, aye. Motion passes. And is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And I will second that motion. Motion's been made and is there any discussion? No discussion. Those voting to approve
Harding, aye.
and Herrick, aye. Meeting is adjourned.